combustion. So this has to be removed. So that is another purpose that we should have flow of this gas. Then dynamic pressure losses in the path of the gas. See, gas velocity should be sufficient velocity needed for better combustion and for enhanced heat transfer at different level, like your superheater, economizer, air preheater, etc. So that is, air velocity should be there, and whenever there is air velocity through some passages, through some obstruction, there will be pressure drop. So this is actually dynamic pressure loss, and this has to be taken care of by the flow or draft system. And then environmental norms are there. What is environmental norm? That we have to leave this hot gas at some sort of elevation, and at that elevation, the velocity of the gas should be such that it can spread. It is not accumulated at one point of time. If at one point of the space, you can imagine if it accumulates at one point of the space, then all the NOx and all the other gases effluent that will be concentrated. All the solid particle it is carrying, like flue gas, that will be accumulated at one part. So it should not be accumulated, it should be dispersed. So that is your environmental norm, and there are details of this norm. So we should have enough velocity, and that is ensured by the draft system. Now boilers are of different designs and different capacities. So over the years, different kind of draft system has evolved. So here we can see that what are the different draft system. Natural draft produced by chimney. Now I want some explanation from you that how a chimney can produce natural draft, or without any fan, etc. How a chimney can ensure that there will be continuous flow of air and hot product of combustion, hot gases product of combustion. So how does a chimney does it? I mean, how does a chimney do it? With the help of a chimney, without having any fan, without having any kind of blower or compressor, we can have continuous flow of cold air inside the boiler and hot product of combustion going out of the boiler. How it can be done?
Sir, it is for convection. Due to density difference of gases, they rise.
Yeah. So chimney is producing some sort of a height of hot gas which is having a lower density. Similar height, if we consider on the atmospheric air side, that is having a higher density. So obviously, it will give us a head of delta rho GH. Delta rho is the density difference. This we have explained a little bit when we have explained the natural circulation in a boiler. And then G is the gravitational acceleration, H is the height of the chimney. So with that, it produces what? The flow of air and hot gas. But obviously, we do not have any control over it. Once we design the chimney of certain height, we do not have a control on the draft produced by it. And obviously, as there is no fan, etc., this will be mild. The draft will not be that high. So the natural draft or the chimney kind of draft, or sometimes the chimney is also called stack, S-T-A-C-K, stack. So these are seen in very, very small boiler, and particularly in some sort of furnace, kiln, etc. If you are traveling by road or by train, sometimes you will find that brick field are there. Bricks are being manufactured. They need some sort of a kiln for burning the bricks. And there you can find this kind of chimney. So where no fans, etc., are probably being used. Then there could be a small boiler for which also we are not using any separate fan. We are using the steam produced by the boiler by some sort of steam jet kind of arrangement. We can have draft. So I will also not discuss this. But in most of the cases, big boiler, utility boiler, you have got mechanical draft produced by fan or blower. This could be of three types. If the fan or blower pulls the air through the system or through the boiler, it is called induced draft. If it pushes the air through the system, it is called forced draft. And if we have got a combination of induced draft and forced draft, both of these things are there. We have got a fan, at least one fan for cooling air and at least one fan for pushing air together, then we call it balanced draft. And here I have written that most of the utility power plant will have balanced draft. Additionally, there will be a chimney. Chimneys are there. A power plant from distance one can identify by the presence of a chimney and smoke coming out of it. So the hot gases effluent, though we provide enough velocity, there is also another mandate that at ground level we cannot leave it. So it should go through the stack or chimney, and at certain height, which is again predicted by environmental law or environmental norm. So there it has to be discharged. All right. It has to be discharged at that level. So when there is chimney, it is also creating a little bit of draft, but generally when we are using forced draft, we neglect the small amount of draft which is created by chimney because that will be very small. You can add it also, what will be created by the chimney. So with this, let us go to this diagram. So this shows in a very nutshell, in a very small, this one, that what are the air paths in a boiler. So basically what is happening, there is a coal mill, I will show you. In the coal mill, coal is being crushed and being made into powder. This is called pulverization. So pulverized coal, along with gas, it comes to the boiler in the furnace section of the boiler. And then combustion takes place and we now get flue gas. So flue gas is at this point, it is the highest temperature. So it should first interact with superheater. Then at the boiler body, of course, these evaporator tubes are there. Already I have told water valve. And then from the superheater section, the flue gas passes to the reheater, economizer, air preheater. And then there is some sort of a precipitator, either for catching the fly ash, either in the form of an electrostatic precipitator or mechanical precipitator. And then at the end, there is a fan. You see, this is an induced draft fan. It is drawing the air through this system. Then there are fans also for primary air and forced draft fan for secondary air. They are pushing the air through this system. So a balanced draft will have both forced draft fan and induced. This is actually induced draft fan. So induced draft fan, and with the action of both these, there will be flow of air and flue gas through all these elements. So can you, do you have any question at this point? Please look at this diagram, and if you have got any question, please ask. Is it all right? Is it understandable that how the two fans are working? Means notionally two fans. There could be two types of fans. There could be more than two fans, but two types of fans are working. One is forced draft, which is forcing the air through the system, and another is induced draft, which is pulling the air through the system. Is it acceptable? Should I proceed?
Sir, in this air preheater, we are heating this primary and secondary air. Sir,
With the help of hot flue gas which is coming out. So basically, this is kind of a special kind of a heat exchanger. I will show you. This is a special kind of heat exchanger. Through one path, this primary air and secondary air are passing without mixing. Sometimes what happens in some design, secondary air is not being heated. It is directly sent to the boiler, but that is a very rare kind of a thing. So primary air and secondary air, they are getting heated. I mean, by exchanging, by getting heat from the hot flue gas. And this entire arrangement is air preheater. Now, these are shown in block diagram. There could be more than one air preheater. There could be one air preheater for primary air, and there could be another air preheater for secondary air. But just to give some sort of a compact picture, we have shown that there is air preheater. Please tell me. Anything? Hello? If not, then I will proceed. Have you understood this, how these two fans are working and producing the draft? Yes? Yes, or any other explanation is needed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let's move to the next one. Can you see this diagram? Hello? This is the total power plant diagram. Is it visible to you? Somebody should tell me. Yes. So this is an animation. Hopefully the animation will run. I have tested it, but not tested in team platform. So hopefully it will run. But before that, let me point out a few things. So here you see there are different units for processing the coal. Then the coal, with the help of some sort of a conveyor belt, it goes to the coal bunker. These are the coal bunker. And then there are these two circle kind of a thing is there. This is kind of pulverizer, not pulverizer. Actually, it is sending the coal to the pulverizer. Here there is kind of ball mill, which is a pulverizer, or there could be other type of pulverizer. So then what will happen? We will get some sort of pulverized coal, and then then you see from the air preheater, air is coming to all these mills, all these coal mills, air is coming, and here dust kind of coal is there. So what we will have, that a dust and the coal dust and air, that will form some sort of a mixture, and that will go ultimately to the boiler. So these are the nozzle. Through this nozzle, it will come to the boiler. And also some air, which is secondary air. So this is the primary air for carrying the coal. This is the secondary air to supplement air supply. So that will also come. And here, this is the furnace portion of the boiler. Here, combustion will take place. Okay. And then we are having somewhere here we will have the economizer. From the economizer, water will come to the evaporator and the steam drum, etc. From there will be one or two superheater. So steam will be superheated. In between, there will be reheater. So reheating of the steam is possible. It will go to the turbine at different stages of the turbine. In between, steam will come back and get reheated, and again will go back to the turbine at low pressure stages, and it will expand. Then in the condenser, steam will condense, and of course, generator and electricity generation is there. Here we are having some sort of ESP, electrostatic precipitator. Here we are having induced draft fan before the stack or chimney, and these are actually primary air fan, and this is your secondary air fan. This is your feed water pump. So all these things have been shown. I mean, after condenser, of course, due to shortage of space, no feed water heater has been shown. So let us hope that this will work. Now it has started working. Please carefully look into the animation. So coal is basically coming. Can you see? And then coal is going to the bunker. All the bunker coal is going. Okay. So coal is going to the bunker, and then primary air should come and make some sort of a at one point of time. So coal should be taken. Now the secondary air has also started, and it will go to the boiler. So first there will be enough airflow, and then only boiler will ignite and flames will be established. And then you see primary air has started. So it will take the coal air mixture to the boiler through the nozzle. So here you see boiler combustion has now started. Okay. And then at some point of time, so now the feed pump has started. So it has gone through economizer. From the economizer, it is coming to the evaporator circuit, circulation loop. And from there, it will come to the superheaters. There are 2 superheaters, I believe. So it is coming to the superheater. Here you see this is primary superheater. This is pendant superheater. This is another superheater. This is probably the final superheater. From here, this steam will go to the turbine. First stage of the turbine, HP stage of the turbine. So it is going to the HP stage of the turbine. And then it is coming back for reheating. It should come back for reheating. So there are 2 reheaters here, primary and secondary reheater. From the reheater, it is going to the other stages of the boiler, intermediate pressure stage it is going. And then it is going to the low pressure stage and coming to the condenser. So can you, give some response that have you understood more or less the principle? In a very brief, the principle has been demonstrated over here. Or there is any question, any clarification? If any clarification, etc. are needed, so then please tell me.
Sir, I did not understand the secondary air need. Like, why are we using the secondary air?
See, primary air, why primary air is needed? Primary air is needed to convey the coal dust into the, just like a fluid, it will be conveyed and injected through nozzle. And also there is another need for primary air. The primary air is heated, so all the coal will have some sort of a moisture. So that moisture will also be heated up if we send hot air. So this is the function of the primary air. But that is not sufficient to ensure complete combustion. So some more air should be passed, and that is the secondary air. So this is the secondary. This green line is the secondary air. Actually, it is shown in a very nutshell. There are air injection in many places. In fact, in most of the bigger boilers and bigger power plant, here also air is injected. And generally cold air is injected. This is called, and this is a very tall structure. So this is called OFA, over fire air. So we want to ensure that complete combustion takes place as far as practicable. Not that we get complete combustion. There are some unburnt amount of coal, depending on design and coal quality. That is there. And also we want to ensure, just a minute, where is my cursor? We also ensure that good amount of product of combustion is produced. That means if there is air, so it will dilute the temperature and also have more mass flow rate. So that when it passes through all these heat exchanger surfaces, this is one heat exchanger, this is another heat exchanger, another heat exchanger, another heat exchanger, another heat exchanger, another one, and this is the final heat exchanger. All the heat exchanger, when it passes, then enough amount of heat transfer is there. Okay, so that's why we have to ensure enough amount of air flow rate, and at different strategical point we have to inject the air, and at different point when we are injecting the air, mixing is becoming better. So that's why primary air, secondary air, and tertiary, or as I have told, that overfire air. So all these things are done. There is also some sort of gas recirculation. I will come to that. So tell me, anybody?
So the primary superheater is just above the economizer. So earlier you had said that the air first passes through the primary superheater and then through the reheater.
No. If I have told, I do not know whether that is a slip of tongue or not. Final superheater will have the highest temperature.
Yes, but sir, the air is first passing through the PI superheater, not the final.
Now that is true. That is true. But what happens? Let me complete it. So final superheater should have the maximum the highest temperature. Maybe it may not be exactly true, because sometimes what happens, there is temperature control needed, and sometimes we also inject in between some sort of water. Achha. And how much will be the heat transfer between the steam and the flue gas? That of course depend on the steam temperature, but also depends on how much steam. It depends on the flue gas temperature, but also depends on how much time we are allowing the steam to flow. Suppose the design is such, these are all block diagram. Design is such that the hot flue gas is passing very quickly. And here, with some sort of barrier inside, we are making the residence time or contact time between the hot flue gas and the steam bit more longer. So, these are details of the design. Unless seeing the details of the design and how it has been done, where the temperature control has been put in the form of water injection, it is difficult to say. But in a nutshell, let me give certain gross things. There is my cursor. Let me have the cursor. So in a nutshell, here, obviously here the temperature will be lower. So the primary superheater should be somewhere near the economizer. And after that, there will be 2-3 different superheaters. Some superheater will pick up the radiant load. Some superheater will pick up the convective load. Okay. So here generally this is called pendant superheater. It takes care of the radiant load. This side, of course, we can see that there is no scope of radiation. So this side we are having some sort of convective superheater. And how they will be placed, how many of them will be placed. So it all depends on the detailed design of the boiler. So that much only I like to say. See, in some other diagram, you can find the reheaters. They are coming after the superheater only. Here they have been put inside. So 2 things you have to remember. Temperature of the flue gas is important, and how much time it is pending in this section. That is also important. The design of the superheater, whether the tubes are closely spaced, whether tubes are having some sort of fins or not outside. So those are also important. All right. So anybody, any question regarding this diagram? I mean, do not take everything that it is some sort of a very sacrosanct diagram. Just like any other schematic diagram, it tries to give you some idea. Hello? Should we go ahead? Or is there any other question? Hello?
Sir, sir, where is the sir, the exit of the condenser is not shown here?
No, not shown. Exit of the condenser, as I have told, no, that there will be number of feed water heater. So those have not been shown. That circuit has not been shown. And only it is showing that somehow the feed water is coming here, and from here, this is the feed water form. Then it is going to the economizer. So all the feed water heater train, that has not been shown. Tell me, any other question? But why I have shown this diagram, that I wanted to have some, create some better idea regarding the forced draft fan and induced draft fan, primary air fan, secondary air fan, and the induced draft fan, etc. To draft system, to make you understand the draft system. And gas path, then what will be the gas path? So it is coming like this, it is going like this, this, it is coming like this. Here also direct connection has not been shown, but then this hot air is coming to the air heater, and then it is passing through this ESP, and then induced draft fan, and then the chimney or stack. All right. So we have spent enough time. So let us move to the, unless you tell me, so let us move to the next slide. So in a big boiler, then the draft system, at one point, it will induct the, it will induct the cold air or ambient air, and at one point, it will reject the hot product of combustion to the chimney. Okay, so in this end we will have the forced draft fan, and at this end we will have the induced draft fan. And this is how the gauge pressure will vary. In between we are having zero pressure, that is your atmospheric pressure. And this is how we will have the variation of gauge pressure inside the boiler. Okay, so in a draft system, the pressure variation is something like this. This is very interesting. So here somewhere we are having the forced draft fan. So at the inlet of the forced draft fan, obviously the pressure will be slightly lower than the atmospheric pressure. And then very quickly, as the fan acts, very quickly the pressure rises to the highest value at the outlet of the forced draft fan. And then it passes through different kind of elements like air heater inlet, air heater outlet, wind box, etc. So the pressure will go on, because these are all resistances. So there will be pressure drop. So at point 6, it reaches furnace. And here you see, from here onward, the pressure goes below the boiler. Sorry, below the atmospheric pressure. The pressure goes below the atmospheric pressure. Zero line is the atmospheric pressure. So part of the circuit, the pressure is above atmospheric pressure, and part of the circuit, it is below atmospheric pressure. And then at the end, there is induced draft fan. It raises the pressure above atmospheric pressure. And that's why with some sort of a pressure, it can enter the chimney or the stack. Now, why it is done so? Now, if there is leakage, and leakage we cannot avoid. This is such a big plant, we cannot avoid leakage. There will be so many joints in the duct, etc. Some duct will be connected, some fan will be connected. So we cannot avoid leakage. So if there is leakage, what will happen? Leakage is there. All of us assume, and it is not some sort of assumption, it is a reality that there will be leakage. So if there is leakage in this large fan duct system, so what will happen? Can you tell me what will happen if there is leakage? No answer. If there is leakage, whether the inside air will come out or the ambient air will go in. Answer this question.
Sir, in the first half, inside air will go out, and in the second half, outside air will come in.
Okay, and that is done intentionally. In the first half, air is cold. So if inside air goes out, we do not have any problem. In the second half, from the furnace onward, at the furnace level, you can see the pressure is slightly below atmospheric pressure, and then it goes below. So from here onwards, air is hot, but this hot air will not come out. As the pressure is below atmospheric, if there is small amount of leakage we should try to avoid, but it is not avoidable 100%. So outside air will come in, there will not be any kind of hazard. Flame will not come out. So there will be slight dilution, but that we cannot avoid. A small amount of dilution could be there, you can argue, but that is negligible. So we will not have any kind of health hazard. Is it understood why this is two fans are used? First thing, if one fan is used, the fan will be huge, okay? Or rather, it has to create lot of pressure difference. It may not be huge because fan capacity remains same, but it has to generate a good amount of pressure. So that is avoided, and then we are having this balanced draft. Somewhere we are using high pressure, and somewhere you are using below atmospheric pressure. Any clarification needed, or should we proceed? Agreed? I mean, is it acceptable to you? Should we proceed?
Yes.
All right. All right. Now, then we can see that fans are important. So these are all written description, so that I mean, you are encouraged always to refer a textbook, but you will also get some basic thing from here. So a fan can be considered as a mechanical device that moves volume of fluid such as air, gas, vapor through a pressure-driven flow. The flow is pressure-driven, and pressure is generated by the fan. Large capacity of fan units typically consists of bladed rotating impeller enclosed in a stationary casing, and rotor system causes the motion of air and gas, and the casing directs the output flow. And casing also avoids unwanted mixture or unwanted mixing of the ambient air and the pressurized air. The rotor can be powered through drives such as motor. It could be turbine driven. In some small power plant, there are turbine driven forced draft and induced draft fan, and it could be fluid driven. So basically, in a large power plant, we will have motor driven. Sometimes turbine driven fans are also there. Turbine driven means, let me explain it, that there is a turbine for generating power, not driven by that. There will be a small, dedicated turbine for running the fan, forced draft or induced draft fan. And also there could be a turbine for running the feed pump. Sometimes the same steam which is being generated, that is used for running this small turbine. They are single stage or at best two-stage turbine, single stage turbine in most of the cases. They are not the turbine for production of power. Now comes the classification of fans. Depending on the direction of flow of gas, fan can be classified as centrifugal and axial. There could be mixed flow, but mixed flow I am leaving apart. So centrifugal and axial. Centrifugal fan, depending on the curvature of the vents, I will show you. Centrifugal fans could be classified as forward curve, radial or backward curve. And axial fans could be single stage or multi-stage. There could be adjustable pitch and fixed pitch. Now you see, in a boiler which is very big or for some industrial purpose, the fan should be controlled. That means flow rate through the fan that need not be constant throughout my operation. Depending on demand, I should have to change the flow rate. So how the flow rate can be changed? The flow rate of the fan can be changed with the action of dampers. Dampers are basically like valves. In a liquid flow line, we are having valves. In a gas flow line, the valves which we are having, their design is simply, maybe entirely different from the liquid valves used for liquid flow. So they are called dampers. And then we can control the motor speed also. If we run the fan at different speed, higher speed will give higher flow rate, lower speed will give lower flow rate. And then if it is axial flow fan, then we can change the pitch angle of the blade. That is also possible. And in a boiler, it is very important that we should have means for changing the capacity of the fan or changing the draft. Fan we cannot change. We are having fixed installation of the fan, but we can change the flow rate through the fan by different action. Mainly there are three types of fans: large fans, primary air fan, forced draft fan, and induced draft fan. But there could be some other type of fan of smaller capacity like gas recirculation fan. And the prime mover for moving gas, there are three names used. One is called fan, another is called blower, and compressor. So if the pressure ratio that is 1 point up to 1.11, then it is fan, and then blower and compressor classification has been given. So you can see that fan raises the pressure of the flowing gas through it very marginally. So basically it creates some sort of a flow, but it creates very less amount of pressure rise. Okay, so this is the essence of the fan. And sometimes these two names, fans and blowers, they are used interchangeably, but not compressor. Compressor generally raises the pressure to a very high level. The pressure ratio could be 7, 8, or even more than that. But fan and blower sometimes they are, very loosely used to mention the same thing. So gas recirculation fan, please read it. It is some sort of a fan used in power plant, but it is a small fan. We are not going to refer to it very rigorously. So this is, I wanted to tell you that there could be, other than forced draft and induced draft fan, boiler is such a big component, so there could be some other fan. So this is a gas recirculation fan. Now, let us see that how does the fan look? You should have some idea. So centrifugal fans are used in power plant, and let me tell certain thing you may note down. Those I have not written here. Generally, centrifugal fans give higher pressure rise, but flow rate through the centrifugal fan will be lower compared to axial flow. So axial machines generally give higher flow rate, and centrifugal machine generally give higher pressure difference. So this is a very important thing to keep it in mind. And why it is called centrifugal? Because you see the air comes through this path and then it goes like this. So there is almost a 90-degree change in the direction of airflow, and due to centrifugal action, the pressure is increased. So that's why it is called a centrifugal fan. Similarly, we can have a centrifugal pump also, which we will be either studying or will be studying. I mean, already you have studied. Generally, the steam power plant fans, they are large. So in normal centrifugal fan, only a blade, flat plate or blade, the blade will be flat. But in case of this bigger plant, we will have this in cross section is like an aerofoil. So we will have the cross section like something like this. And this is the direction of flow, and this will meet the vane or blade that will meet at an angle. So there will be an angle of attack. This is angle of attack. And then the force could be drag force and lift force. And generally the aerofoil shape is given so that the drag force or resistance becomes small, whereas we generate a much larger lift force. Okay, so this is what we try to do. This aerofoil shape, please have a note because we will refer back to this again later on. I think this I should explain it in bit detail. Are you familiar with this kind of curve? Have you seen this kind of curve? Hello?
Sir. No, sir.
Achha. This is called fan characteristic curve. When you will read centrifugal pump, when Professor Ghosh Maulik will teach you centrifugal pump, so then also you will come across this curve. Probably he will spend more time. So let me tell you that a fan, in general, we consider a fan or a centrifugal pump to run at a constant speed. So basically, this curve is for a particular RPM. So there are two things which are very closely related. One is pressure. This is basically the pressure developed by the fan. And in case of pump, it could be head developed by the pump. And this is the quantity or flow rate. So this side is flow rate. So what we can see that when the pressure is very high, generally the flow rate is low, and vice versa. As we go on increasing the flow rate, we will have lesser and lesser pressure. And then it is important to have this information. Again, it will be repeated by Professor Ghosh Maulik for pump. So this is the direction of rotation. If my blades are like this, we call it forward curved blades or vanes. If they are radial, we call it flat blades or radial blades. Okay. And if they are, the curvature is reversed to the direction of the rotation, we call it backward curved blades. These are very important. These are very important from any exam point of view. These are very important from interview point of view. Generally, if a core company is coming, they will try to know that whether you have got some idea regarding this or not. And we assume that blade is perfectly guiding the fluid. So when the fluid will come out, so fluid will have a velocity component like this. But the whole thing is moving like this, so the fluid will also have a component of velocity like this. So the resultant velocity will be something like this. So in all these cases, we can get the velocity diagram. This is the relative velocity, VR is the relative velocity, VB is the blade velocity because the blade is moving in this direction, blade velocity, and then this V is the absolute velocity of the fluid. Okay. Now, these are just not fancy. These have got some implications. Now, you see what happens that how there are 3 blades. This is your backward curved vanes. This is backward curved vane. This is radial blades. This is radial blade. We can see the radial blade. And this is the forward curved vanes. So, I mean, almost for the same kind of design, means inner diameter, outer diameter remaining same, the characteristic curve depending on, or the performance curve depending on the curvature of the vanes or blades, that could be different. More interestingly, this is one point I like to tell. So more interestingly, how the power changes. The power will change something like this. As the quantity or flow rate increases, for forward curved vanes, the power will go on increasing. The radial vanes also, or radial blades also, the power will go on increasing. And the power will increase for the backward curved vanes. And then as the flow rate is increasing and increasing, so the power will remain a little bit constant and then it will start. So this has got very large implication. What is the implication? The implication is that somehow you are operating at some point, due to some demand change, the flow rate has increased. Okay. So then the power demand by the forward curved vanes that will increase, radial vane that will increase, forward curved vane that will not increase, rather that will decrease. Now, as the power increases, there could be 2 things. So you are drawing more power from the motor. So the motor can get damaged, or if you have taken a precaution, the motor will trip and the fan will stop. So these 2 things can happen. And none of these are desirable. The definitely damage of a motor burning is not desirable. And sometimes in a plant, we do not want the plant to be tripped if nobody is attending the plant and the fan. So it should not be tripped. So for our safety reason, many cases, the backward curved vanes are preferred. Okay. Up to this point, let me just tell, and then again, we will take it back in today's class. So quickly, if you have any question, you ask me. This particular slide is very important. We will come back to this slide and we'll try to explain more of this slide. Quickly, if you have something, please, we can discuss. Otherwise, we will stop over here. But this is very important. This Professor Ghosh Maulik is also going to tell probably in connection with centrifugal pump what I am telling in connection with centrifugal fan. Anything?
Sir, so here the air is coming axially and like going out radially.
Yeah. Yeah. If we go back to the previous diagram, so air is coming through the center. Just a minute. This is called eye of the impeller or inlet. So here it is coming and then it is taking a turn like this. Okay. Then it is taking a turn like this.
Okay, sir.
In centrifugal pump also it is like this. Centrifugal fan also it is like this. All right. Any other thing? Otherwise, I will close it and we will meet at 4 o'clock. All right. Okay. Thank you.